The NBA 2K series is no stranger to controversy, whether that's absurd VC prices, beef within the community, or 2K just downright lying to us. 2K has had a lot of controversial moments. The NBA 2K20 is probably the most controversial game they've ever dropped. Honestly, it was like that before the game even dropped. Look at this, we have to go all the way back to 2019, pre-launch. There was definitely some changes that needed to be made from 2K19. So of course 2K, like they always do before the game's about to drop, they go ahead and drop their park trailer. And it was the same exact park from 2K19. Now people had their speculations of it being the same park beforehand. The game had been leaked, the park had been leaked a few months earlier, but I'm sure people didn't really think they were gonna give us the same park. So when they dropped the trailer and everybody had concerns, this is what Ronnie had to say.
That's not the neighborhood, but you guys can think whatever you want.
So yeah, obviously everybody was like, okay, so this isn't a neighborhood, right? There's no way that they're gonna give us the same neighborhood again, and Ronnie said it wouldn't be the same neighborhood, so everybody was just waiting to see what the actual neighborhood would be. But no, in fact, it was the same neighborhood. He lied once, maybe he was misinformed, maybe somebody else told him there was supposed to be a different park, we don't know. But then, not too much longer, Ronnie has this to say about the My Player Builder and the insane VC prices.
People are talking about lowering VC prices. Remember, guys, that like Cash and I talked about this earlier. You can respec all your builds. So like, if you don't want to build 17 My Players, you don't have to. You can respec them. So that'll save you VC.
We're gonna be able to respec our builds to save VC prices. That sounds like to me like you'd be able to get like some type of refund, or you'd be able to change your build. That's definitely the way it sounded. So that's twice that they lied about the game before it even dropped. That really rubbed people the wrong way, even before the game had even dropped. So that brings us to the launch. NBA 2K20 had one of the worst launches that I've ever seen from 2K game, and that says a lot. You have the regular problems with the game crashing and stuff. Playing online didn't even work. Badge progression was literally broken for people. People weren't getting badges, they were spending all this time on My Career. Your name wouldn't even show up on your player in My Career for some reason. People were getting blue screens left and right, just dropping games. It was just overall bad experience. This is also the 2K where they added quick draw, and a lot of people didn't like quick draw. It just made the gameplay a lot slower. But once people adjusted, it wasn't too big of a deal. So the year went on, people were starting to make more and more builds. But that's one thing that this game didn't have, was a good build system. You can make a bunch of different builds. It was a pie chart system, so it was fairly limited. But every single build that you made almost was good. You could have an offensive threat with shooting and driving, and you also had a little bit of playmaking. You can make a rebounding wing. I remember I had a 6'8" play glass that was a playmaking glass cleaner. It had a 65 3-pointer and 84 driving dunk. But if you could actually time your shot that year, you could green a lot with a 65 3-pointer. They really made it so that you could use a lot of builds. It stopped the game from getting repetitive. You weren't always playing the same builds. You also have to look at the gameplay side. The gameplay in this game, in my opinion, was some of the most balanced it's ever been. The shooting was smooth. You could get to the rim when you wanted to, but also the interior defense was absolutely phenomenal. If you were undersized big, or you were a guard and you had good position and you played great defense, you could get a stop on a bigger player. But at the same time, if you were a skilled big man and you had a smaller guard on, you could take advantage of that. Also on the perimeter, the defense was absolutely phenomenal. You could really lock in on the defensive end if you had good stick skill. It just made for a lot of great balance in the game. And that's probably why people were playing it a lot. And I feel like this game really brought a community together. And then the pandemic hit. This is where the controversy still lies with this game. A lot of people think that people overrate this game just because it was a pandemic game. And I have to disagree. The game was fun even before the pandemic hit. But once the pandemic hit, everybody was on a game. The viewership was at an all-time high. Creators were creating. People were doing wagers left and right. You had Aiden Ross meeting LeBron James. And I mean, I know everybody remembers the famous G-Man clip.
One more bucket! I'm just a motherfucking content creator! I'm just a content creator!
That was one of the greatest moments of 2K history for sure. But also they had a healthy rotation of events. You had events like Puma Mania, Rush 1v1, Rush 2v2. You had double XP 1v1 events in the park. You had the Beats event. You also had the Treasure Hunters event, which you had to go through a bunch of steps to get the 4x XP. You had events like the Dodgeball that were really fun. I feel like this was 2K's peak as far as giving us events to play, involving each other, really trying to give the community something to play. Also, everybody was on the game at the time. All of these things just made for a really great 2K. And I mean, like I said, everybody was on the game at the same time. Like I said, people have mixed opinions on this game, but in my opinion, this game is not carried by the pandemic. It was a fun game before the pandemic, and it was a good game after the pandemic. And in my opinion, it was one of the last 2Ks where you could really play defense. But hey, those are just my thoughts. Hey man, make sure y'all subscribe and join the family, man. We're on the road to 10K, man. And yeah, I'm gonna catch y'all boys next time, man. Peace.